We are gathered this morning to mourn the passing and to bid farewell to Phillip Coleman, Feivel Getzel, Ben Meir Coleman, beloved husband, father, grandfather, great-grandfather, brother-in-law, and friend to many. In Hebrew, the word for funeral is levaya, which comes from the word levia, to accompany. Unlike the English word for levaya, funeral, which comes from the word finale, which indicates an end, the Hebrew word levaya indicates that we are accompanying the soul of Philip from one world to the next, from one stage to another. But his soul is with us, and we accompany him on his journey. Today, in the Jewish calendar, is Rosh Chodesh, the first of the month, the first of the Hebrew month, which is considered a special day, somewhat of a holiday, and that limits the degree of the sadness of the mourning, of the eulogy that can be performed on this day at this funeral. Perhaps this is Phil's way to inject a little joy and humor, even in a difficult, even in a sad time. We'll begin with chapter 16. Michtav no David, Shamreini el ki chasisi bach, Amart ladinai adinai ata, Tevasi balalecha, Likdoishem asher ba'aretz hema, Va'adirei chalcheftzei bam, Yirbu atzvaisam acher maharu, Val asich niskeim midam, Uval esa es shmoisam as fasai, Adinai min as chalki v'chaisi, Ata teimich gerali, Chavalim naflu li ban imim, Afnachalas shafra alai, Avarech es Adinai asher yatzani, Afleilois yisruni chilyaisi, Shivisi Adinai lenegdi tamid, Ki mimini bal emet, Lachein samach libi vayagol kveidi, Af besari yishkein levetach, Ki loi sazoiv nafshi lish'ol, Leisitein chasit chalire shachas, Teidieni eira chayim, Sevas samaches es panecha, Neimois b'mincha netzach. A Psalm of David. The Lord is my allotted portion and my share. You sustain my fate. Portions has fallen me in pleasant places. Lovely indeed is my estate. I will bless the Lord who has given me counsel. I have set the Lord before me always. Because God is my right hand, I shall not falter. Therefore my heart rejoices and my entire body exults. Also my body will rest secure, for you will not abandon me to the grave, nor will you let one see destruction. You will make known to me the path of life. In your presence is fullness of joy. There is delight in your right hand for eternity. Philip was born in Chicago in 1932. In 1954, he met his dear wife, Anita, and they got married shortly afterwards in 1955. After a brief stint in California, they lived their entire life here in Chicago, where they built a wonderful family and merited to see children, grandchildren, and a great-grandchild. The great Talmudic sage Hillel said, "If I am not for myself, who is for me? But if I am only for myself, who am I?" And he concluded, Hillel, "If not now, when?" I think this statement describes and defines the unique personality of Phil Coleman, Feivel Getzel Ben Meir Coleman. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? Phil worked hard all his life. He was very independent. He did not rely on anyone. He was there. He relied on himself. Yes, it was in an unconventional way, with humor and fun, in his own way of doing things, but he was there for himself. Losing his own father at the young age of 14, Phil understood, if I am not for myself, who will be for me? And that's how he acted, and that's how he taught his family as well. But it didn't stop there. As Hillel continues, but if I am only for myself, who am I? And it wasn't only that he did things himself, but he did things for others. He was there for his family. He was there for his wife Anita, having great respect for her, and even more making sure that the children had great respect for her. And he was there for the friends of the children. He was there for Anita's younger brother to take him in and to help him out. The Coleman home was a lively home with their own family, but it was also an open home to the friends and the broader family. Indeed, if I am only for myself, who am I? And Hillel concluded his statement, if not now, when? Phil was someone that was in the now. He knew how to enjoy the moment. He knew how to take advantage of the moment and live with it. As they say in Yiddish, hat gelebt. He lived with the moments. He lived with the now. With a joy, with a sense of humor, with a wise line, but he was there. And whatever he did, he gave it his all. It was about quality. He was doing something, whether it was with the family or it was whether a job for someone else. He put in all his effort. He did it to its best. And he was there being Jewish as well, whether it was making the latkes on Hanukkah, the oily latkes, or leading the Pesach Seder, or even a Friday night Kiddush, a Friday night Shabbat dinner. He was there. If not now, when? And I think most importantly, and to his pride, was the now, the time that he spent with his grandchildren and with their life cycle and with their events and with their celebrations. I remember recently the joy and the pride that he had at Jake's bar mitzvah and at Sivan's bat mitzvah, standing glowing in pride of their accomplishment. Of course, he found a way to kibitz with me and challenge me a little bit, but he was proud. He was joyful. His life was living. His life was being there. His life was to be present. And that's the statement of Hillel, and I think that's the life of Phil Coleman as well. As his pride and joy was his family, I think it would be most appropriate to hear from the family. First, I'm going to call upon Jennifer and Lauren French, the granddaughters, that are going to share a few words on behalf of all the grandchildren.
On behalf of all 12 grandchildren, we'd like to express our love and gratitude for our grandfather. He is truly one of a kind, and we all have agreed, one in a million. All of us grandchildren wanted to recognize how blessed we are to have been able to have both Bubby and Zadie in our lives so much. Living so close to them throughout our childhood allowed us to learn and grow close to them in the early stages of our lives. Zadie has always been a man of wisdom, teaching and mentoring each and every one of us as we grew older. Being a part of a big family, it's easy for someone to feel as if they got lost in the shuffle. Zadie always had a way of making you feel special, and us grandkids lucked out experiencing it firsthand. We've all had that moment of performance, from sports games to theater plays, when we would look over and see Zadie sitting there cheering us on. He played such an active role in our lives that he helped form every single one of us into the people we are today. And if I say so myself, he did a darn good job. I personally wanted to say how incredibly grateful I am to have gotten to spend such quality time with such a special man. I had the opportunity to spend a few months with Bubby and Zadie before I left for college. Most of my favorite memories were made during those days. I learned something new every day from Zadie, and I really loved hanging out with him. He was the guy you could talk to about absolutely anything, and he'd always tell you the truth, even when he shouldn't have. I really am going to miss watching his eyes light up at dinner when I served him tuna fish for the third night in a row, or being there to clear his place after dinner and be the one to give him a little ice cream with fruit for dessert. So Zadie, you will forever have a special place in my heart. Thank you for all the great things you taught me and all the memories you left me with. 6 months ago, I was given the opportunity to work with my grandfather as his caretaker. Not knowing what this entailed, I figured this was the perfect chance to make up for the lost time not spent during my teenage years. You see, I was always the spontaneous grandchild. Zadie and I clicked from the very start. We have very similar characteristics. I think that's what made our relationship so special. He always told me he knew I'd make it, just like he did. Just as much as I loved being with him, he loved having me around too, even though he said he didn't really need any help. These last couple of months while he was in assisted living were particularly difficult, although we did have our fair share of laughs. Zadie always complained about how there were too many old people that lived there. He would point and say, "Look at them." He would steal cookies every time he walked out of the dining room, even though he knew he wasn't supposed to eat them. Everybody loved him. He tolerated most of the staff. However, he was particularly nice to the pretty girls. He never let me forget that I was and always would be his favorite nurse. I was constantly learning from him, whether he was trying to teach me something or not. He always told me, "Don't be afraid, always keep fighting, and never give up." He was my inspiration, my hero. I cannot describe in words these past few months and the time that I've had with him. It was an incredible experience and had a tremendous impact on my life. So again, on behalf of all 12 grandchildren, we'd like to express our love and gratitude for our fun-loving, humorous, strong, handsome, beloved grandfather. We love you, Zadie. Love, Jen, Alec, Lauren, Matthew, Hannah, Brandon, Jake, Savan, Ari, Elon, Abraham Moishi, and great-grandson Jaden.
Thank you. I'd like to call upon daughters Amy Silverman and Rhonda Guzman on behalf of the children.
Wow. All right. Mom and Rabbi, cover your ears. I just have to start with my dad's favorite word. Shit. Oh, shit. Okay. Dad, Phillip Coleman, Phillip George, Fievel Getzel, Phil, Philly, Phililla, Daddy-O, Dada, Papa, Pops, father-in-law, Zadie, Zades, Zadels, Moose, and Schmendrick, as my mom often called him. That's our dad.
As we're all gathered here today, I'm looking around the room and seeing a lot of people who my dad influenced. And I always thought it'd be so hard. I remember being out there looking at someone standing up and talking about their loved one and how hard that must be to be up here. And how do they keep their composure? So I'm going to try, but if I don't. My dad is, and will always be the strength of our family. He had such a powerful influence on everybody, on all our lives. He was our teacher, our mentor. He was the problem solver. He was our advisor. He was a man that was always there when you needed him. His opinion was always strong and highly regarded. My dad was determined to make something out of his life. He worked hard, persevered, and overcame all obstacles on his way. His success was an inspiration to many, as you just heard. He valued education, and he made sure that all 8 of his children went to college. He wanted us to be independent and self-sufficient. In my parents' 59 years of marriage, there's no doubt that my dad loved my mom very much. As many couples do, they often had differences of opinion.
More than often.
But in the end, he would most always let her have her way. He always protected my mom and made her feel safe. He should rest now knowing that we are here and we'll make sure mom is well taken care of today and every day moving forward. Dad, although you're gone in body, your spirit lives on. We will be calling upon you often for your support and guidance and help us make these decisions that you've always helped us make in the past. Thank you for molding us into who we are today. We're at peace knowing that you are with us in our hearts. We love you, Dad.
Okay. As you know, on behalf of all my brothers and sisters, I'm going to share some things that our dad loved, some things that he was good at, and some fun memories that we will never forget. Things he loved. Playing his accordion, harmonica, and guitar. The same old songs every time. Playing golf, even though he thought he was a lot better than he really was. Swimming in the ocean, lifting us up over the waves and floating on his back for what seemed like hours. Finishing his popcorn before the movie even started, and then falling asleep. Going to Broadway musicals and exciting shows in Vegas, and then falling asleep. Going boating on Lake Michigan, and thankfully never falling asleep because he was the captain. Going out to eat with us as long as we paid for it. Teaching funny songs to us and his grandchildren, the kind that would get us all in trouble if we sang them at school. We actually had to cover the rabbi's ears earlier as we played one of my dad's songs. Telling the same story over and over and over again to anyone that would listen. Shopping with his daughters and granddaughters. He had such great taste. Watching TV game shows, Family Feud, Let's Make a Deal, Wheel of Fortune, and The Price is Right, but only with Bob Barker. Watching old westerns and black and white movies with his grandkids. Watching heavyweight boxing and cheering on the Bears and Cubs. Driving nice cars, but only ones made in America. And those are only some of the things our dad loved. Things he was good at. Providing for his family. Fixing anything and everything. Plunging toilets with toilet paper shoved up his nose. He was always so dramatic. Removing splinters. In fact, I used to go out and rub my feet on the deck so I could come in the house and say, "Daddy, I have a splinter." Wrapping us like burritos with our blankets at night and stretching us from head to toe in the morning. Making breakfast for all of us in Florida, a great thing to wake up to. Blowing bubbles off his tongue with his saliva. The few of us that could do it were really proud. I was one of them. Brandon. Telling jokes, and most of them were kind of dirty. Helping us with homework or studying for a test until 2 or 3 in the morning because we waited until the last minute and then we panicked. Building custom homes for many families. Helping us make decisions by weighing out all the pros and cons and then sticking with it. And helping us get up when we got knocked down. Those are only some of the things our dad was good at. Some fun memories of him. Drag racing with my brother David and telling the policeman when they got pulled over that he wasn't speeding, but funny how they both got tickets. Pretending to have hair, he would say you could feel it if you would just close your eyes and rub so softly on top. snapping his belt to scare us so we would scatter about the house. But don't worry, he never used it. We all just laughed. He would playing a pretend trumpet to wake us up in the morning, tucking us in at night. Watching strangers and making up stories about what they were thinking or saying. Pretty interesting and fun ones, too. Making fun of random people without them knowing it. We laughed at their expense. I know where I got that from, right? He would leading us in the I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream song on our way to 31 Flavors, now Baskin-Robbins, and sometimes he would just zoom right past. He was such a tease. Never. Leaving at 4 a.m. and driving straight through to Florida with his wife, 8 kids, and a dog in an old Vista Cruiser station wagon. Needless to say, it was a bit cramped. Having his kids then, and grandchildren most recently, blow on his thumb to inflate his belly, and then pretend to fart to deflate it. That's our dad. Just simply hanging out with him. And those are only some of the fun things that our dad used to do. As many of you know, it has been a grueling yet precious week together as a family at my dad's bedside. And I think we finally all agree with Dad on one thing. He was right. We are all nuts. While we were with my dad at the hospital this past week, his dearest friend, David Gottfried, who was like a second father to us, is in Florida, and he was unable to get here. He recently had surgery. He's doing well, but he sent this and asked me to read it to my dad while we were there. He said, "My dear friend, I am so sorry I cannot be there at your side in your time of need. I am, however, hopeful that you know in your heart how I feel about you, and always will. We've been friends for 71 years, and I can honestly say that I cherish every day of those years, even though you made me crazy. I love you, Phil, and always will, as my dearest friend, David." The last thing I need to share is when my brother Brian and I were going through some things that my dad left for preparation for this day, he left instructions and a little note at the very bottom. And he said this quote, "That's all I can think of for now. Take care of Mom. I love all my wonderful children, their spouses, and of course, my most beautiful grandchildren. Mom and I have really been blessed. Love, Dad." Thanks for everything, Dad. We love you and we'll miss you greatly. That's it.
Thank you. Ask David to come up and share a few words.
Hi. So I have just a few thoughts. I guess I came in from Israel, and they give me an extra time from the family to say a few words. Thanks for everyone for being here. It's a big honor and tribute to my father, who I think we all love very much. It's a surreal moment, I think, for me, my family, all of us. One that I was not looking forward to for a very, very long time. Being here and at this moment, I do feel extremely fortunate. It's a mixed emotions. It's a roller coaster ride, but I do feel fortunate. God gave my dad 82 years of a rich, blessed, full life. My mom was telling us before in the other room, she's saying she married a West Side bum. Her mom told her never to marry a West Side bum, and she did it. But seeing that my father, what he created in this life, what he did while he was in this lifetime, which is just a small corridor until we go to heaven, we return to heaven, and to be with God, he accomplished a tremendous, tremendous, tremendous amount. So I think there's just complete thankfulness and gratitude that we all have in our hearts and souls for what we were given. I also, I'm just going to maybe jump around a bit, but we're all very thankful to my father, my father for all that he's done for all of us and continues to do. And I'm also extremely thankful. One thing about my father that we mentioned is he was a fighter. There's no doubt my father was a fighter, whether it was opinion he had, whether it was to stay alive, he was a fighter until the end. I remember his first heart attack, he had a couple. It was probably 20 years ago, and I remember always like being very sad to think of my father being gone. He gave us a long time to kind of grieve and to mourn. And probably 5 or 10 years ago, he was having a heart attack going out to take the garbage out, and he said, He goes, nuh-uh, not yet. He wasn't ready to go just yet. And he told me he had to stick around to take care of his wife, Anita, and the kids. Like, he knew he wasn't ready to go yet. So just God kept giving us additional time with him, which is a tremendous, tremendous gratitude that we have for it all. And even most recently, I got a call Sunday that my dad, it looked like it was the end. And obviously, so we had time to mourn even, the past couple of weeks, month, everyone had a long time. But even last week, we had time to mourn. So Sunday, it was it. He was probably on his last moments, hours. I booked a flight from Israel. I got here Monday. He's still going strong. Not as strong as he could laying there. But he stayed with us until Wednesday. And his very last moments, right? People go at different times. His very last moments were with his family, most of his family. My sister was in Israel on Skype, standing beside him. The fruits of all of his labor, the fruits of everything that he created in this world, standing by him and watching him peacefully exit the world. And it was beautiful, and I think we're all just thankful for how he gave us, the time he gave us. And my brother Milton also wants me to mention always that he's passing now. We're about to bury him. And as we bury him, as we know, his soul is leaving us today. His soul is still with us right now in this world here, hovering around. We put him into the ground. He's back up in heaven with Hashem, with God. And who knows where the soul goes. But my sister Lisa, who is in Israel right now, she's overdue a couple days, expecting her first child. So we know that my dad's going to work out some special arrangements. And how God would have it, it seems like he might be coordinating things, and my dad might not be gone for very long. So, yeah, so I want to just, we'll end here by, there's a little recording that my brother Milton had recorded with my father. I think it was about 2 years ago before they were going to Florida. And I think it shows a lot about my dad. It shows his fun way. When I think of my father, I say, what a blast. All the memories are going through my mind, which thankfully we have so many rich, wonderful memories, are just what a blast. He was a blast to be with. He was fun to be with. He was a character. And I do believe deep in his heart, he did believe in God, and he did know that the time comes, as Amy read, he felt blessed in this world, and when the time comes that he's going to be with God, and he's going to return to a very beautiful place. And God willing, he reaps the reward for everything that he's done in this world, all the good deeds he's done. May we, his children, his grandchildren, all make him proud up in heaven and do amazing good mitzvot, acts of kindness, chesed, tzedakah, charity, all good things in our lives, and we dedicate things to his merit. One other thing I just have to say is this weekend is, maybe my dad coordinated as well, but it's the Shabbos Project. Worldwide, Jews around the world are having Shabbos, keeping a Shabbos this Shabbos. It's a powerful day in Jewish history, I would say, or powerful Shabbos in Jewish history. So in my dad's merit, all the good things that we can do, I would even just ask my family, grandkids, friends, anything we can do to keep this Shabbos, maybe take on a certain act. Maybe we can do Kiddush like my dad has done my entire life on Friday nights. Maybe it's lighting the Shabbos candles. Maybe it's taking off Shabbos, turning off the phone for Shabbos, something. And it could be in my dad's merit that elevate his soul into the highest realms that he could possibly go. And may we constantly feel him smiling and shining down upon us. So this is the recording, and we'll see what you think. Here.
So Phil Coleman, how does it feel getting ready to go to beautiful Florida?
Well, I'll tell you, boy, I've been keeping my mind open on for this trip for about 4 to 5 years, and this is going to be the one.
Well, we're happy for you, and when you get up there 30,000 miles, what are you going to be thinking?
I'm thinking about the man up sky, and he's going to lead me to the home of my people.
Baruch Hashem, and you have a nice trip there, Mr. Coleman.
Thank you.
So in his humorous way, I believe he knows where he's going, and may we all just cherish the memories and the good times and the moments that we've had with him, and may he be well. Thank you, everyone.
That's right. We heard it all. As mentioned, today is Rosh Chodesh. It's a day when the morning is limited. So we have an abridged version of the memorial prayer I will say in a moment. And we ask everyone to please rise. God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant proper repose on the sheltering wings of your presence in the lofty levels of the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament onto the soul of Feivel Getzel Ben Meir Coleman, who has gone to his world, and for whose memory we all pray. May his repose be in paradise. May the Master of Compassion bring him under the cover of God's wings and bind his soul in the bond of eternal life. May the Lord be his heritage, and may he repose in his resting place in peace. And let us all say, Amen. You may be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, the interment service will continue at Sunset Memorial Lawns at 3100 Shermer Road in Northbrook. For Shiva information and memorial contribution information, you'll find that on the service folder as well as a map to the family's residence. If you do not get one, we have them as you exit the chapel. For those of you who will be driving in the funeral procession to the cemetery, the procession will be forming in our parking lot. Please obtain an orange safety funeral sticker to place on the right-hand side of your windshield. Have your bright lights and hazard lights on at all times. For additional measures of safety, we will be providing many of the cars with a flag that will be affixed to the top portion of your car. We'll have a car in the back of the funeral procession to hopefully keep other cars from entering the procession. And for your own personal safety, I strongly recommend you use your horn liberally as you go through the intersections, and please do not speak nor text on your cellular phones while driving to the cemetery. At this time, I'd like to call upon the pallbearers to please come forward and stand next to his casket as I invite everyone to rise as we escort the casket of Phillip G. Coleman to the hearse along with the rabbi, the family.